Hi everybody, Professor Decker with your PowerPoint and video to accompany section 1.1, or I'm sorry, 1.2 and 1.3. So in section 1.2, we're going to start learning to convert, right? We talked about the fact that we have to understand that we're using two different units of measurements. We're using the properties of weight and we're using the properties of volume, and inside of both of those we're using two different languages, if you will. We're using US customary and we're using metric. So we need to learn how to convert between weight and volume, and also sometimes between metric and US customary, and we begin to do that today. So by the end of this video, you should have a good grasp on being able to use what we call the bridge method to convert volumes to other volumes and weights to other weights by practicing. Instead of being in class, this is going to be a video. You're going to practice with the worksheet that you will upload to Canvas. And then in class, when we meet the next time we have class together in person, you will have a chance in some groups to complete 5 problems correctly using the bridge method. So why do we need unit conversions? Well, that's a really good question. Maybe you want to accurately measure out 1/8 of a gallon. Maybe you multiply a recipe by 16 because you want to make more than the tiny amount or yield that a recipe calls for, and when you do so you get a quantity like 36 teaspoons, but you want to convert that to a more easily measured unit. You wouldn't be very effective if you had to scoop out 36 teaspoons. Your chef or your manager might say to you, isn't there something a little more efficient? Well, yes, there is, and we're going to learn how to convert to that. Or you may need to convert a recipe from US customary to metric, or vice versa. You may get a gift for an upcoming holiday or birthday of a cookbook from a currently famous chef today, and as I said in class, most of those are written by metric weight. So you might have to convert to use the cups and teaspoons and tablespoons that are in your baking drawer at home. Or you may want to estimate the number of portions that you can make from a given recipe. So how are we going to do that? We're going to use what the bridge refers to, or the book refers to, as the bridge method. So here's how you bridge, and if you follow along in your book, we're going to be starting around page 9. The 7 steps of the bridge are there. I'm going to read them, but the majority of what I'm going to do in this video is demonstrate them. So the first thing you want to do is you want to rewrite the quantity you want to convert without any fractions or mixed units of measurement. So remember in class I said to you that at birth we give our children weight mostly by using mixed measurements, right? We might say that a baby weighs 7 pounds and 2 ounces. Well, in a bridge, when you are looking to convert, you can never start with a mixed measurement or a fraction. So if it were a fraction, let's say that you are starting with something like 3/4 cup. The first step of the bridge says get rid of the fraction. So the way to do that is to convert this 3/4 of a cup to a decimal. And to go back to when you learned how to do that, you just basically say what you put in your calculator. So 3 divided by 4, and when you plug 3 divided by 4 into your calculator, you would get 0.75 cup. So that's converting, getting rid of a fraction. Now let's say we had to get rid of a mixed unit of measurement. Well, we learned that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound, right? So that would be helpful for us. We could either say 16 times 7, 16 ounces in 1 pound, right? So we could say 16 times 7 equals 112. Ounces plus these 2 ounces means that we also want to convert 114 ounces. That would be an example of getting rid of a mixed unit of measurement, okay? You could also convert this 2 to a decimal, right? You could say 7 point and then you'd put 2 over 16 because there are 16 ounces in 1 pound and we only have 2. So 2 divided by 16 gives us 2 divided by 16 gives us 1.25. So we could also say 7.125 pounds. Both ways would be getting rid of a mixed unit of measurement. Step 2 says identify the type of unit conversion. This is so important, guys. I want you to really pay attention to this because this is a step that if you can discipline yourself to always ask yourself, what type of conversion am I doing? It'll save you a lot of headaches down the road. Just trust me. So there are a couple types of conversions that we will do in this class. One, we will be converting from weight to weight, okay? We just did that. We converted from ounces to pounds and pounds to ounce. That's weight to weight. Another one is you could be converting from volume to volume. I might say something like, I need 125 teaspoons of vanilla. How many cups is that? Well, teaspoon is volume and cup is volume, so I'm just converting between 2 units of volume. I might also do something like convert from volume to weight or from weight to volume interchangeably. What that might look like is I might say, okay, I have a cookbook that I want to make this chocolate cake from Chef Thomas Keller's Bouchon Bakery. It's all written in metric weight. I need to convert 3,025 grams, and I need to know how many tablespoons that is. Okay, because if I look in my drawer, I don't have a scale, and it's certainly not a metric scale, but I have tablespoons and teaspoons. So I want to know how many tablespoons that is. Well, that is converting, right? Because remember, gram is the tiniest unit of weight. So gram is weight, and tablespoon is a unit of volume. So that's this one. I'm converting between volume and weight. And there's another one that we're going to get to. I just want to mention it. You could either be converting from an each to volume or weight. Tuck it aside for now. I don't want you to really concentrate on it. But what does that mean? Maybe I might say, I need to know how many pounds 12 eggs is, right? 12 eggs is an example of an each. I need to know how many pounds that is. So for today, I want you to ask yourself and identify which of the 4 types of conversions you're doing. Today we will be only focusing on weight to weight or volume to volume. So I want you to do that. Number 3, I want you to draw arrows to indicate the target unit to which you are converting, as well as the sequence of units you will use, and I'm going to demo these, so don't worry. Number 4, write the original quantity as a fraction with the denominator of 1, and then we're going to copy the unit from the previous numerator of the first fraction to the denominator of the second. Number 5, we're going to determine an equivalent that includes this unit and the next unit in the sequence diagram that we're going to be constructing. Number 6, we're going to just keep repeating steps 4 and 5 until we find out that the unit we want to convert to shows up in the numerator of the final fraction. And then number 7, we're going to multiply all across the top, multiply across the bottom, and simplify to get our answer. So let's head to our workbook and let's practice some of these together. So let's start. I'm going to skip this because you're going to do a worksheet on this in class. Let's start with page number 10. Let's do a couple of these from number 10 on the board here so that you can practice these on your own. Okay, so let's look at number 1. A scaled recipe calls for 12 teaspoons of baking powder. So we know that we have a recipe and we scaled it, which means we either made it bigger or smaller than the original recipe. It calls for 12 teaspoons of baking powder. We want to know, so we're starting a conversion with the number of teaspoons. The question is, how many cups is that? Because 12 is a lot to measure out, and we could more efficiently measure out just a quantity of cups. So how many cups of baking powder would you need to measure for this recipe? So the first step of the bridge says to get rid of any fractions or mixed units of measurement. We don't have that. So then the second step tells us to put that quantity that we want to convert from over the number 1, okay? The next step says, ask ourselves what type of conversion this is. Well, is teaspoon volume or weight? Is it gravitational pull on a scale, or do you fill a certain vessel up to the line, the amount of space an object takes up? Well, the answer is we fill to the amount of space that object takes up, so it's volume, and cup is the same thing, right? Cup, we're going to fill it up to the top line. So the answer is this is a volume to volume conversion, okay? So now what we want to do is we want to bring the unit in this first fraction's numerator down and make it the quantity or the unit, in the second fraction's denominator. So teaspoon was the unit of measurement in the first numerator. It becomes the unit of measurement in the second fraction's denominator. Now we need to look up here and we need to say, okay, how am I going to get from teaspoons to cups? What have I memorized that could take me from teaspoons to cups? Well, hopefully most of you have started to memorize the fact that there are 48 teaspoons in 1 cup. If you did memorize this, then this is only a 2-step bridge. So you could go right in your bridge from teaspoons to cups, which means that teaspoon came down here and we look to the next step in our sequence as the item to put as the unit in the numerator of the second fraction. Now you stop and you ask yourself, what's the equivalency? How many teaspoons are in 1 cup? Well, we said there are 48 teaspoons in 1 cup, and then the rule of the bridge tells us just to keep repeating steps 4 and 5 if need be. This is a 1-step bridge, so we don't have to do that. So all we have to do is multiply across the top and we get 12, across the bottom and we get 48, and then simplify. 12 divided by 48 is 1/4 cup. And if you check in the back of the book, you'll see that the answer is 1/4 cup. Let's look at 2, and actually you guys can do 2 because they do travel in pairs. Let's look at 4, okay? So 4, we're going to look at this problem, and we always want to read it to find out what we're converting from and what we're converting to. So 4 says, at an upcoming catering event, you will be serving 6 fluid ounces of gazpacho to each of 110 people. How many gallons will you need to make of gazpacho? So we know that we're ultimately going to answer the question, how many gallons? And I want you to start thinking about that question 2 or step 2 of the bridge. Start identifying what type of conversion it is by asking yourself, am I converting to a unit of volume or weight? Well, gallon is volume. So let's just do that. Now, how much do we need to start our conversion with? Well, this one's a little trickier. It tells us that our portion size is 6 fluid ounces, but it tells us that how many people are going to get this soup. It says 110. So this becomes a multiplication problem, right, to find out how much actually we need to convert. So 110 times 6 equals 660 fluid ounces. So we will be converting from fluid ounces to gallons, okay? We will be converting from fluid ounces to gallons. There's no fractions or mixed units of measurement. So we can just put 660 fluid ounces over 1. And now we ask ourselves what type of conversion. Well, we said gallon is volume, and we know that fluid ounce is also volume. So this is a volume to volume conversion. Now, the rule of the bridge says that we can start looking for targets to say, do I know an equivalency between fluid ounces and gallons? Do I know how many fluid ounces are in a gallon, or do I need to put something in between there? Most of you should have memorized that there's 128 fluid ounces in a gallon. But for the sake of this problem, I'm going to pretend that you hadn't. So I'm going to pretend that you say, oh shoot, I remember a couple facts. Remember we did this in class? I remember that there's 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup and I remember that there's 16 cups in one